Hello, this is Jim Peters on Peters Principles, and you never know who you're going to get on Peters Principles. And today we have Jay Mason of the Lowell Sustainability Council. And Jay, we're going to have some relatively scientific questions for you.
Uh-oh.
That's good, right? Okay. So what is the Sustainability Council?
Jim, the Sustainability Council is a city manager appointed organization. We have a mission we've been charged with to promote citywide sustainability, engaging community stakeholders through education, communication, and collaboration to propose sustainable policies and encourage innovative solutions. This all has to do with the climate.
And what is it designed to do again?
It's designed to broaden awareness, Jim.
Okay.
We're looking to have an appropriate municipal response to climate change in a way that allows policy to follow along with the changes that are needed to be on board with being ready for climate change and the economic and other aspects of change that go along with that.
Okay. You saw Before the Flood with Leonardo DiCaprio, right?
Sure.
Was that a good depiction of what's going on?
Well, I think so. I think climate change is a hard subject to get a good grasp on. It's a difficult concept for people to understand how it works, and I think that program did a good job. I think Leonardo is an actor that a lot of people know and identify with. Many people identify with him. I think he's well respected, and so I thought he did a good job on the engagement piece, and for me that's really important. Getting people to understand what we're dealing with and what climate change is, I think is very, very important, and I think he made a lot of progress, I think, making it accessible to people as something that can be understood.
I was very surprised to find that you use the same amount of methane in a half a pound of hamburger that you use in driving a Prius 44 miles. I was very surprised to hear that. Is it an effort to broaden awareness, and what type of broadening and what kind of awareness are you trying to do?
Okay, so essentially the Sustainability Council is trying to make it clear to folks that we have some options. There's an environmental crisis that we're facing. The planet is heating up. It's not a matter of opinion. It's a scientific fact that 99 out of 100 scientists believe that it's man-made. The cause is man-made, and if we don't do something about a warmer planet, we're going to have problems, particularly with moisture. The ability of our atmosphere to hold moisture is higher the warmer the planet gets. So as the planet atmosphere warms as a result of climate change, we're going to have storms that are more severe. We'll have flooding issues, and basically the weather patterns are less predictable. That we can still predict them in time to know what's coming at us, but we can't do anything about the severity. And I think if we work with proper policy and planning right now, starting as soon as possible, we can mitigate some of the effects of this warmer planet.
Okay, what you want people to do is become aware of the issue, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. I understand that Mayor Kennedy is actively involved in the council. I have a lot of respect for Mayor Kennedy. And I was wondering, in your opinion, what's piquing his interest?
Well, I think the mayor, like the folks on the council and like the manager, share our vision that the future of Lowell and our region is based on sound policy that supports sustainable practice. We live in a green community. We have a master plan. I actually have a copy of it. I don't know if we'll have time to get into this, but this is a really important planning document that the city has put together, the DPD has worked on. But in addition, our community voted to support a divestment motion for the pension fund, trying to move away from fossil fuels that are driving this climate change. We have a wind ordinance. We award buildings and organizations that have demonstrated leadership in sustainable practices, so that there are benefits public marketing-based benefits to folks that are out there enhancing and improving our response to climate change. Our community gets it. So I think our mayor understands that vision. I know our manager does as well. I've met with him several times about this. It's our reputation that builds economic progress and investment from the outside. If Lowell is looked at as a community that does get it, that does have a vision, that does have an ability to translate action into practice, we are going to see more investment from the outside. We're going to see more companies wanting to be here, more families that are interested in living in a community that has a forward-thinking vision, and I think our city benefits as a result.
Okay.
And the mayor, I think the mayor understands that.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, and speaking of the master plan, why does the climate change mean more intense storms? Now, we just went through an intense storm 3 days ago.
Sure.
And the Midwest was kind of wiped out for a few days. And why do we have more intense storms?
Well, I think it boils down to warmer air can hold more moisture. It's as simple as that. So if the greenhouse gases that we're emitting are trapping in more heat, it means that the atmosphere is warming up, and as a result, there is more ability of our clouds to hold more moisture. A wet, dense, very saturated cloud body is going to drop more rainfall or more snowfall because it's got that moisture to give. So the warmer the cloud, the more moisture it can contain, and the more variable and the more severe our storms become.
Now, you said something before we started about a sponge
Analogy. Sure.
Analogy. Can you describe that a little bit?
Absolutely. Well, I was really just going to use the sponge not because I was going to heat it up like a warmer cloud or a warmer atmosphere, but I was just going to simply try to make the point that if you have a very wet sponge and you squeeze it, like what happens when you have rainfall and a cloud, there's going to be more moisture come out of it.
Okay.
So if that sponge has less moisture, if that cloud has less moisture, it's more of a gentle rain. So we're moving away from gentle rain. We're moving more towards very intense storms, Hurricane Sandy, Hurricane Katrina. These storms have increased in incredible frequency and severity of damage, cost of damage, and those are directly tied to the warmer planet. Those are the kinds of things that we're hoping to mitigate. I won't say avoid. That's impossible, but the more that we can do policy-wise as a community, the better prepared we will be to get through the changes that we'll have to be dealing with.
Okay. Can you do an introduction on climate change in the Merrimack River? The Merrimack River, of course, is the one that we probably know the best.
Sure, I'll try to, and there it is right behind us. And I'm not a scientific person. I really am more of a policy and planner type. That's the basis of my experience. So I can't speak to the science as well as many others could. What I can say is that because we have a warmer atmosphere and it's getting warmer, that means more volatile weather. More volatile weather is going to contribute to more volatile storms in the Merrimack River. So the flooding opportunities that we are looking at now are higher because we have a more volatile weather pattern and we have more moisture in the atmosphere. So I would expect there's a reason that in the last 10 years we've had 2 500-year storms, flood events in the Merrimack River, and that is due to a variety of factors, but you can't pull climate change out of the picture. Climate change is absolutely a contributing factor to that intensive flooding that we've seen and experienced and had to pay for, and we need to understand that that is going to be happening more frequently as opposed to less frequently.
Okay, the Merrimack River, I know for a fact, flooded in 1936 to 1938. Is that part of a pattern that was starting back then?
That's part of a natural pattern. I'm not going to say that climate change is responsible for every bad thing that happens in the atmosphere. That's simply not true. But we can't deny the connection between a warmer atmosphere and more moisture and more severity of storms. That also implies that if more moisture is gathering on the East Coast, there may be areas in the middle part of the country that are experiencing drought. And New England actually experienced a severe drought with our crops this past summer. So it's not so much just more intense storms, it's the variety of the types of extreme weather that we're experiencing as a result of climate change.
Okay, I know that we were going to try to bring a picture of the falls from the fall side onto the show, and we will show that at a later show. But the Merrimack River, this is pretty well represented by the picture behind us,
Yeah.
and that's on the upper side of the falls. Why is that picture important? Why is a picture of the falls working so heavily important to your planning, the Sustainability Council?
Well, I'm a graphics kind of guy. I need to see pictures personally to be able to understand concepts and principles. And for me, it's an important shot because it helps us to understand really why this city is here in the first place. We went through the Industrial Revolution here in Lowell because of that river, because of the drop, because of the ability to do hydro in the 1830s to 1860s particularly, and that Industrial Revolution that Lowell is a founding partner of is now looking at a crossroads, right? We're in the position of needing a new revolution, a revolution of how we address our response to climate and how we plan and prepare for weather events that are more varied and extreme than we've ever faced before. So I see that picture as a way of reminding myself and reminding people in general that we are a river-dependent city. We were established because of that river. And the more we look at that river and understand it and work with it and work with the science of what's happening around the environment of the river, the better off we will be going forward.
Okay. We talked about the Leonardo DiCaprio film Before the Flood, and it culminated in a United Nations resolution, right? Is that right? And what the United Nations resolution said basically what?
I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to. I know that I know that in the movie Leonardo DiCaprio made a presentation to the United Nations. I suspect that there was a resolution proposed. I don't know what the extent of that was. I'm more familiar with the Paris Treaty that was passed in December of last year,
right,
that is binding 196 countries at present to holding their carbon emissions down. And let's not forget, the carbon emissions piece, the science piece of this starts with the amount of carbon in the atmosphere, right? We're getting warmer weather because the atmosphere has more carbon in it. Currently, at this point, the atmosphere has 405, 410 parts per million of carbon relative to the other gases that are up there. In the past, it was at 350 or below, and 350 was determined to be the sustainable number. Mm-hmm. So what we'd like to see happen tomorrow is that we go back to 350, and we're at a sustainable level of carbon that will not cause the planet to heat up more. We obviously can't do that. It's going to take a lot of time. You don't just take a ship that's going full speed in one direction and turn it 180 degrees, but that's what we need to try to do.
Okay. Is it plausible?
Anything's possible, Jim. I think that you have to look at each opportunity that you have, each day that you're available to bring an action to an idea as important and as something that you not only have a right but a responsibility to try to do. So absolutely, I think there's reason for hope, but there's certainly less reason for hope if we don't do anything.
Okay. what is the current LSC program and how can people get involved?
Thanks for asking. The Lowell Sustainability Council meets on the second Thursday of each month. Tonight is our January meeting. We meet at the second floor, the Arm & Hammer Conference Room, the second floor of JFK Building, opposite the City Hall building, across the concourse there, up above the police station. It's a public meeting. It's open to anyone that would be interested in coming and hearing what's going on. We've got a lot of great programs going on. I urge people to check out our Facebook page. There's a Facebook page for the Lowell Sustainability Council. There's a spot on our city's website for the Sustainability Council. So you can go to those places to learn more information. And I really encourage and urge people to get involved, because that's how we make change. That's how we have hope, is we have energy and numbers of individuals that want to see something happen.
Okay. You said at one point you wanted to do something powerful. You made a statement that was very powerful, which was nothing is more powerful than hope. What did you mean by that?
I think you got to make a difference. You've got to really get out there, take a risk, listen to others. I think be fully engaged would be my recommendation, and that's just me personally. I think from the Sustainability Council point of view, we are charged with exercising the city in a productive and positive way, an effective way towards a response to climate change. I feel very excited about the power of that effort, and I think it can only get better. We can only grow on the foundation that we have now. The organization has only been established now. We're in our second year. We started as the Green Building Commission in 2007, when the city first was designated as a Green Communities city. And now that we're the Lowell Sustainability Council, Jim, we've got a larger, more diverse mandate and focus to make things more powerful, more effective, and more focused on doing things that support better policy for moving our environment forward, moving our community forward.
Okay, in your opinion, is there anything more important at this point than saving the environment?
Well, you know, we've got to prioritize the things that we do each day. Obviously, you know, we've got to make a living, take care of our family. We've got to volunteer in our community if we want to see change. These are all important things. With respect to the environment, I think that we've got to use our collective energy on a regular basis and find ways of making the changes to the way that we run things today. We've got to find a way to make those foundational for going forward. You know, we need a foundation of promise if we expect to see things improve. And I think that's the case whether your deal is the opioid crisis or a homeless situation or the environment. I personally, I'm dedicated to working with environmental progress because I see that as a baseline. It's like your body. You need good health in your body if you want to be successful in the other areas of life. It's the same with our environment. I think we are more likely to make progress with other aspects of our goals if our planet is healthy.
Well, I think this is an extremely important point, a plan. And what I'd like to do is have you on for an hour on This Town's character. And by character, we don't mean you're a character. We mean you have character. So This Town's character is about a person who has character, and you certainly seem to fit that mold. And I'd like to have you on, and we can talk about this a little bit more.
Sure.
If that's okay.
Let's talk about that. That sounds good.
Okay. The thing that I was most surprised at with the Leonardo DiCaprio film was the fact that I became very aware of the fact that I was eating hamburger when I should be eating chicken.
I agree. I feel also guilty about that. I'm a huge meat eater, and you know, everybody can't do everything. You can't be all things to all people. But yeah, I think meat production takes up something like 300 times as much agricultural energy as the same unit area of vegetables. So for the same amount of protein, you're taking 300 times more resources to execute that through meat production than you do through growing, say soybeans. So even if you can switch to chicken, you're saving something like a 10-fold decrease of wasted energy, you could say.
Okay, well, I was very surprised by the film. It was an eye opener. My wife insisted that I watch it, and I wasn't going to. I didn't think I needed to, but she insisted that I watch it, and I learned quite a bit from it. So it was an eye opener, and I think that the work that you're doing is extremely important, and that just working on global warming and climate change is an important part of what we are doing here. I have a quote from my priest that he said, "No one in this world is placed here simply to fill up space and burn up energy. There is a contribution waiting to be made by each of us. No one can make that except ourselves," which I thought was very
Apropos, absolutely,
apropos,
sure.
to the point. I'd just like to thank Father Ray Benoit for that quote. That was a great quote.
Right. It's kind of like nobody can do everything, but everybody can do one thing. It's that same kind of let's take this on as a part of what makes us better.
Right. Okay. Well, thanks, Jay, for being with us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Jim. Appreciate it.
We'll, as I said, we'll do it again in a few weeks.
Right.
So, and that show will be This Town's Character, and This Town's Character is a 1-hour show. So we'll delve into it a little bit more than we have today. I'd like to thank Jay for coming. I'd like to thank people on the Sustainability Council for their work, which is extremely important.
And again, we're meeting tonight. We meet the second Thursday of each month. We're hoping to get as much public engagement and involvement as possible. We'll be having a summit coming up in the fall of next year. And we do a building awards program. I just, if I could for a moment, want to plug our building awards program, where a facility that is practicing sustainable policy, or a individual or group that is promoting sustainable planning and practices in their mission, such as we awarded Mill City Grows this year as our first individual or group recipient. Those kinds of awards bring attention to the good things that folks are doing. We've made awards to UTEC for their solar project. We've made awards to the the ambulance company, Daily. Pride Star. Thank you. And a number of other companies. I think there's a good list of groups out there, buildings out there that have made progress, and we want to recognize that.
Oh, that's good. Okay, well, you can make progress by simply putting a solar battery on your roof, right?
Sure, absolutely.
That helps. Okay.
I have one.
This is, you do. Oh, that's good. I have a small one, but it doesn't do much. This is Jim Peters with Peters Principles, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.